Hello, it's Dan from Astrometrical. What we're looking at today is an image that's flicking between two renditions of the Southern Pinwheel Galaxy, M83. This was shot with my RASA 11, which is at 600mm focal length. It's not a particularly high resolution data set. It was well dithered, would suit a drizzle to try and recover some data, but this is not drizzled data. But the two images that you're looking at is the bluer one on screen at the moment, is standard processing using PixInsight for stacking and plugins like BlurXterminator and NoiseXterminator, and then some very simple processing that followed on from that for stretching and saturation and so on. The other image, this one, the lighter or less blue image, was not stacked. It was processed using the ImageMM algorithm, which there was quite a bit of noise about, say October last year, when it had been released in relation to, I think, the Vera Rubin Observatory, and there's been an implementation in SETI Astro and so on. And I had made a proof of concept, taking the paper and writing an implementation of this myself, and the results are really pleasing. So I'm sure that if you just watch the two images as it flicks through and just look at, say, the dust lanes through here, because the dust lanes really, you can see the sharpness of them and the extra detail in places through here coming into the core. You can really see that there's not just more contrast, but there are things you can see that in the ImageMM processed version compared to the BlurXterminator processed version. And although you can't see it very clearly, there are lots of things just in the background as well that ImageMM was able to recover that aren't present in the BlurXterminator version. Now, this isn't to say that there couldn't be improvements to both images, but as a proof of concept, I found this quite exciting, that this really recovered quite a lot of detail, and this isn't the super resolution version of ImageMM either, which hopefully would do an even better job at pulling out lots of detail and very faint objects. So I was reminded of this today because there's a lot of talk on the forums and groups and whatnot, because Parallax from Cyclone has just been released. And of course, there's all these comparisons between Cyclone and, Parallax and BlurXterminator, and which of these AI-based tools do the best job at de-blurring or deconvolution or extracting details from your images or sharpening your images, however you want to phrase those things. And I guess I have a position that says, well, we've kind of integrated everything and made it blurrier, and then we're trying to recover detail using an algorithm that doesn't really know anything about your optical train or the seeing conditions. And that seems like a much harder problem to get right than taking a per frame and potentially a spatially varying approach to measuring the transfer function, the optical transfer function of your equipment, and estimating the seeing conditions and whatever it is that you need to do in order to de-blur your images. And while deconvolution can be quite difficult, I think ImageMM makes it a little bit easier. I think it's a more controlled algorithm that's not going to have all the same ringing problems and give better results with less tuning. And so these sorts of approaches, they exist, and I think that we should be spending more time investigating these. And even if we take the output from something like this, and then the last mile, we can use something like BlurXterminator or Parallax. So tool makers out there, maybe give some thought to per frame deconvolution or similar techniques. And given the compute that's available on desktops now, these things are becoming quite reasonable to do. So that's my 2 cents. I think we're heading down maybe not the wrong path, but we're not heading down the most useful path that's available to us. You may agree or not, every technique has its limitations. Where these ones apply, they do really, really well, so shouldn't be ignored. So maybe I'll turn this into a product at some point, and we can start using it. But until then, all you've got is these two images. Thanks for watching.